Do you have that friend that you know can do so much more, so much greater, has so much potential, yet seems to be running around and letting life happen? Well, sometimes I feel that way, but more times that is how I feel about Samyang, and this new lens launch is the perfect example of that. Now, there are a couple of basic problems that have gone wrong. Number one, there are maybe 2 reviews out there on YouTube about this lens, and it was released 3 days ago. Number two, as far as I can tell, no online retailer is currently selling this lens. So even if you did want to buy it, I don't know how to make that happen. And number three, the naming structure really makes it so hard that this lens will probably be lost in the shuffle of previous iterations for decades to come. These are seemingly unique problems to overcome, yet this is why I think Rokinon and Samyang have been somewhat hidden in the back, simply competing on price when people are comparison shopping. It shouldn't be this way anymore, not with this lens, because it's just too good for that. Anyway, the focus of this new lineup is portability, practicality, and convenience, which again, from a marketing standpoint, isn't where I would necessarily go. Those words I would associate with some tiny pancake lens that makes your camera impossibly small, while this lens is, from my experience with it, a G Master competitor. So words like premium, performance, buy 3 of these for the price of 1 G Master is what I would use, but what do I know? All metal rear mount, electronics, a USB-C port for firmware updates, weather sealing gasket around the mount, and the entire lens is weather sealed against light rain, snow, and dust. Full frame E-mount lens, it's made in Korea. Lens specs here, minimum focus of 0.3 meters, and then you get to the focus ring. It's a little rubberized, grippy, but the rotation is a bit on the firmer side, not perfectly smooth, but it's all right. And this lens has autofocus, so I don't think this ring will be used much. There's a little chrome strip accent here and a secret hidden red line tucked around the front, but no other buttons or switches or distractions. Around the front is a nice front element that is convex, no writing or specs here, it's clean, 67mm filter thread. There's a bit of focus on this lens being the lightest f1.4 full frame lens on the market, that's a 35mm, and that may be the case. It comes in at 470 grams, but I will say when you pick it up for the size, the weight feels significant. You don't pick it up and say, wow, this is light. You pick it up and you say, wow, this is made of some nice feeling plastic, but it feels quite heavy. Inside there are 12 elements in 10 groups, 9 aperture blades, and Samyang's, get this, linear stepper motor. Which is it? A stepper motor with linear characteristics or a linear motor with stepper characteristics? Again, marketing. So here is what this lens is capable of on my A7C. All of these are straight out of the camera, no editing, no post-processing, ready, set, go. So in my opinion, this lens is brilliantly good. It's incredibly sharp in the center wide open. The corners are softer and darker, definitely. The colors and the contrast levels are incredible. The bokeh is smooth, it's well shaped, a little bit of cat eye into the corners and the edges, but overall excellent. It's a low light machine. That f1.4 gathers more light than the human eye can in dark situations. And if you look at these shots from my 4-year-old A7C, I don't know, but it looks like it could have been shot on Sony's newest camera and G Master. I did a quick comparison between this lens and the Tamron 28 to 75mm G2 at 35mm, and wide open I'd say this Samyang is sharper in the center, not quite as sharp in the corners. When you stop it down to f2.8, it certainly gets almost as sharp as the Tamron in the corners, but not quite. And wide open, you'll see the corners and the edges are darker than the Tamron. But center sharpness with this lens at f1.4 is tack sharp. Now, as far as problems, I'm going to list out 3 optical things that may or may not be deal breakers. First, this lens doesn't handle flare in the best way possible. In fact, it flares quite nicely with large teal and purple elements. It almost looks like fake flare at times. Contrast levels remain pretty high, but if you don't like flare, this lens is a no-go. Second, there is a little bit of chromatic aberration with this lens wide open. It's not horrible, but it is there. You can see it especially in out of focus high contrast elements in your frame. I'd rate this as above average performance in handling fringing, but certainly not G Master levels. And last, the corners and the edges of the frame are softer and darker. This lens does have some vignetting. It's very noticeable wide open, and it gets much better as you stop the lens down. The corners, even at f2.8, while they are sharp, don't seem to get as sharp as you want them to until about f4 or so and beyond. So if you are expecting corner sharpness equivalent to the G Master 35mm f1.4, well, you're going to be disappointed. The autofocus is very good, fast, near silent with just a faint whirring noise, and it's accurate. I didn't have any issues whatsoever, and I use this lens for photos and video on a gimbal with excellent results. Focus breathing, likewise, is very well controlled with little movement when racking focus from near to far. So again, for video work, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. So all of this comes together in a nice package, and I'm a big fan of this lens, more so than I was anticipating being. And I will be the first to buy a 24mm f1.4 version when that comes out, if it does. Now, if you own a full frame camera and you don't have a 35mm lens, well, that is one of the most versatile standard fields of view out there, really, for street photography as a daily carry lens. If you don't want to use a zoom, this 35mm is about as good as it gets in terms of field of view. It's close enough, but it doesn't feel too close, and it's wide enough, but it doesn't feel too wide. And that f1.4 means you still get subject separation and low light performance. And you aren't carrying around a giant beast of a lens either. For an f1.4, it is small and light. It's a little bit bigger than the GM, but barely. What is definitely smaller is the price, which I unfortunately, due to marketing, I don't even have. Now, the Sony GM is $1,400 US. I believe the Samyang is going to come in at around the $500 mark. So you're looking at a lens that is potentially about a third of the price. Now, I don't think people who own the GM are going to go out and dump their lenses and pick up this one, because the GM does offer some buttons and an aperture and better corner optics. However, if you don't own a GM and you want something that's a 35mm that can get you near GM levels of goodness, at least in the center of the frame, has autofocus, and you don't want to shell out massive amounts of tender coin, well, this Samyang is definitely worth a look. I'm excited to see what other lenses come out in this lineup, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I'll try to update this video with some links to this lens as they become available. So check those links out, and that way you can actually see what the price is. I might be completely off with my $500 guess. It might be $700, it might be $300, I don't know. But if it is $500 or less, it should be at the top of the Amazon bestseller list in no time at all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.